be able to check ourselves or have some process. What I try to encourage coaches to do, I know a lot of my coaches, with the exception of you and a lot of the youthful guys that you coach with, be able to step back and not be able to just make that final decision and say, let me take a deep breath, let me take a step back. Now, I do agree that the level of respect a coach should be able to get is great. But you got to tweak it too, Coach. You got to go both ways with it. How much respect do you expect to hold from your players if you can do things that are considered disrespectful by this generation?
Right.
And I think that's key.
Right.
Because sometimes we're quick to step on the cultural values of another generation. And I think that goes both ways.
Right.
If it's fair to say, me being an older coach at the time, if you do something that I've communicated to you that, I have issue with that, then you're not doing your part as a player to step up to where I want you to be. But also, and I'll leave it at this, also, if as I'm witnessing, that this is part of the culture of my players, at some point I have to be able to honor some portions of their culture. Maybe not all. I know some coaches can hear this like, wait a minute, but you're going to have to do that.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely 110% agree with what you're saying. It's definitely a situation where there has to be give and take. I mean, regardless, it's a relationship.
It is a relationship.
So it goes back to what you just said about absolute power. It's not an absolute power situation. This is a relationship between you and your point guard, you and the 15th guy on the team. Like, keeping them engaged so that they're still cheering on their teammates and not being a cancer on the bench.
Right.
I mean, it's a relationship-based situation. I mean, it's not a absolute power situation. It's a relationship situation.
Despite how the accolades, I tell you what, man, it's funny, being on the sidelines and still being engaged. When I go on the field with a team or come in the gym, I be kind of hyped, man. I come in because I'm not playing, but going back to what we talked about, earlier about, from the highest level, the NBA is part of the show. And if you're part of the show and you have a very unique role in the show, you're not the starting point guard, but you're the coach.
Right.
I mean, that's a significant role in the show, and if it was a movie, that's a big piece, right? So, it's easy to kind of be caught up in that. But the coaches get fired to some of the players, if you want to take it to the highest level, whether it's, collegiate or absolutely in the pros. But the same thing with, players don't get fired in high school, just the coaches. That's the one constant, to keep in mind. Coaches get fired. Well, listen, we've been having some great discussions on here. I think what we've had so far, in my opinion, has been a really good take on, where we're at with things. This part of the season, basketball starting, for high school. You got the collegiate players getting things underway, and as well as the NBA. Are there any other things you would want to be able to share for what we have going on right now that would be pertinent or getting us ready for some future talks?
Well, you know what, this is kind of partly simple and just kind of, if there's any high school coaches or any coaches, really is real quick, just as I feel is a good tip, is telling the parents when you have your parent coaches meeting and what have you, that you're going to make mistakes.
Putting that out there already.
Putting that out there. And it goes back to what we were just discussing earlier about absolute power and everything.
Sure.
Just being humble, being aware. So you're taking the ego out of it of, I'm the absolute ruler, this is what I say, this is how it's going to get done, and so on. Is that you come from a position of perspective of, hey, you guys, I'm going to make mistakes. Just want to let you know. I'm not saying that you can't cuss me out behind me in the bleachers.
Right.
But I'm just letting you know I'm going to make mistakes.
Sure.
It's just the way it goes. I'm not going to do the same substitution pattern as you think I should, or put this player in, or run this play, or run this defense, or this strategy. I just want to let you know I'm going to make mistakes. And I just think that that's a good starting point when you're talking to the parents.
Sure.
Or it could be the administration.
Sure.
This is the things I'm going to do, but I'm going to make mistakes. So just realize that, and hopefully that helps you not put pressure on yourself.
Sure.
There's too much pressure on yourself.
Sure.
Because you're worrying about the parents and what they're saying behind you.
Right. So you're saying you need to come with it with a little bit of vulnerability. And to be honest, I talked to my coaches about that, whether it's relating to their players and also to them. I think it will help empower you because you're not going to win that parent battle by just trying to be the strongest of the two, because they're collective and they will collect up on you. as we all know.
That's not the battle you want.
I guess if you want to know, do you really have absolute power? I guess parents can help check you that you don't.
Correct.
Right. Correct. And if you're one of those old school coaches who've had that day is not going to last because they get the AD involved and so many other things they can do. So that's really good advice. Well, that's all I really had, man. I can tell you, man, it's been great just going through this process with you, being able to get your perspective. I know you're really big on saying, oh, you're just this or that coach. You're an excellent coach, and I've told you that years ago when I met you, and I think it's really relative. It doesn't matter whether you're high school, collegiate, or pro, that you have a healthy respect for the game. Mm-hmm. You're constantly growing with the game. So being able to have you here as a resource and a great sounding board, I think not only benefits me in the work that I do, but also people who may tune in. I think the content they're getting is going to be beneficial. And we're hoping that as people tune in, they let us know what they're getting and how this is helping, other things that we can explore, as well as sharing this message to others. And we got to keep reminding people we got some events coming up in the month of December. It's going to be the Moneyball basketball tournament
at Everett High School.
At Everett High School in Lansing, December 1st. It's going to be a huge lineup of teams from all over the area. Definitely looking forward to supporting D. Ferg, Desmond Ferguson, and the whole Moneyball movement. And hopefully we'll be there, and we look to welcome other coaches and other individuals from the community to come on out. We want to be able to get you down on wax, or get you down on the podcast, or get you down on this digital. We got the wax up here to get you down on this digital, but also be able to help promote whatever it is other individuals have going on or whatnot. Are there any other things that come to mind for you, Keith?
No, I just definitely want to make sure we encourage everyone to go over to iTunes, go to the podcast,
Thank you.
Subscribe, rate, review. That would definitely help us be engaged with you. Definitely send us questions. Go to the website. We will have all the information for you at the end of the podcast. But definitely make sure you tune in to the podcast. Share it with your friends, colleagues, your administration, other parents, things of that nature. But make sure you definitely go to the podcast, The Coach's Culture, presented by SPS, in your iTunes podcast. Review, rate, subscribe.
Hey, I don't want to come behind that. He said everything. So Lindsay Huddleston out. Keith Tate.
You're doing this again,
sir.
Yeah,
it was a great time.
All right.
Okay, we see you guys.